During this session, we wish to hear about your experience in Silicon Valley and how startups should prepare to survive.
Well, thanks to meet you. I'm Dana Burns. I'm the CEO of Boltmetrics, and we are based in Silicon Valley.
Could you please tell us what drove you to establish your startups in Silicon Valley?
Always really interested in starting a company one day, and my background is more technical oriented, so I have a background in engineering and data science. And the specific company that I run currently in Silicon Valley is related to the retail industry, and then my training in engineering and data science led me to basically take some old world concepts of that business and revolutionize it to be more applicable in today's digital world. So that's what sort of drove me to start the company that I started today.
Then you have a vast experience in establishing startups and operating them in Silicon Valley.
We identify as a lean startup company, which is essentially a concept where you build the minimum viable product to get the product into market and then test with real people, with real customers. So it's sort of a methodology to identify product market fit. And so that's what we did in the early days to identify product market fit.
What do the most successful ones have in common?
More and more increasing trend of startups that are solving problems with data science and artificial intelligence. So there's just more and more generation of data in today's world through individuals generating content and businesses generating content. And so with more and more data being generated and information being generated, there's a lot that can happen with that. And so there's a trend for companies to identify sort of like how this data can be used in a way that makes it more valuable. So not only AI to take that data and make use of it to solve problems, but also AI to almost like keep it organized in a way that's so that the data is being used and is solving problems for today's world.
Failed startups are increasing. Could you explain the reason why?
There is cases where some startups just don't have enough financing to get the idea off the ground. But then you have the opposite side of the coin where some startups raise too much too quickly, so they can't meet the growth expectations, and then the VCs end up basically not supporting the companies going forward. So there's a delicate balance there that needs to be achieved. So a lot of startups sort of find themselves into one of those two buckets and fail as a result too, and then ultimately identifying as quickly as possible a product that has value within the marketplace.
Must do and must not do when they plan to start their businesses in Silicon Valley?
I generally give the same advice to a founder or an entrepreneur that's starting a company for the first time, basically. And this is more specifically for a tech company. So one is, and this is why it's more tech company oriented, but having in the co-founding team, not only just the CEO who's like running the business spectrum of the business, but also a co-founding technical partner, so a CTO. And that's important to have a CTO as a co-founder. And the reason for that is because you're not gonna have the same level of persistence to succeed during the hard times with a hired employee. Another piece of advice for first-time entrepreneurs, and actually really just any entrepreneur that's starting their business, is to start a company and have some sort of unfair advantage. And so what that means is whatever it is that you're starting your company in, you as the founder or perhaps your partner, your co-founder, needs to have some sort of unfair advantage that gives you a leg up within that industry to start that company in.
Could you share your view on the future of Silicon Valley?
Well, I guess the Silicon Valley now, Silicon Valley still persists as being a place where there is just a large volume, a large number of venture capitalists. But in terms of how it compares to other regions, what I'm starting to notice is that a lot of these these VCs, these large powerhouse VCs with big funds, hopefully we move together as a global society where there's more collaboration between the countries and more interconnectedness of the areas of the world. And so as Silicon Valley grows with its own venture community, I think what we'll see is a co-growth of venture communities within these other countries and more collaborative type environments on how these companies are working together across the globe.
Sharing your time for this interview. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.